What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of VCCLive. This is episode 19. We created a monster because nobody wants to see Marshall no more. They want Shady. I'm chopped liver. There was a little bit of Eminem for you.
What?
So random.
I'm too
Wasn't
old
that
for
random?
that. You need to start.
So random.
Start quoting Dawkins.
A Billion
Quote
Lives
Dawkins.
map and more. Whatever else we can come up with for the next hour. Yeah. I'm glad you guys appreciate that little ad lib of Eminem. Jay, what's happening, man? How's things in Massachusetts?
Things are horrible. My computer systems broke down last week for my company, so I'm working on replacing that. Hence me being on my phone right now, so I look like the jolly green backdrop. But other than that, not much, because life is work, work is life.
Nick,
That's
how's things
good.
with you in Cali, man?
I'm gonna start using that. Life is work, work is life. Yeah, same
Just
thing.
off the top of my head.
That's really
Maggie, I will find you.
that's really good. Yeah, I mean, same for me. Nothing new under the sun. A lot of vlogging and videos. That's it. Going to VaporCon East and then going to Arizona for Vapor Dynasty Expo after that. So that's all I got. I got nothing.
Got nothing.
I really got nothing.
Yeah, so welcome everyone, and if you're in the chat, say hey. We'll keep an eye on it for questions or comments or anything that we might need to discuss. Yes, I realize people tell me that I readjust my hat a lot and I do this a lot. I don't know, it's just, shit happens. Don't forget, if you're watching live, smash that like button real quick, and if you would, share it while we're at the beginning of the broadcast, so if anyone else wants to check it out live during their Friday lunchtime or breakfast time out in California, they can do that. Yeah, and if you're watching on the replay, also don't forget to hit that like button for us real quick if you would, and also remember that the comments don't transfer over from the live broadcast, so if you have anything earth-shattering that you want everyone else in the world to see, or the 500 to 700 people that watch the video, put it in the comments down below. Yeah, I'm in one of those moods this week, guys. So we got back from VCC TN 16 in Chattanooga. It was last week in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And yeah, turnout was abysmal.
Was it really bad?
Abysmal,
I haven't seen any videos or pictures from it, so I just
would say that
assumed it
we
was
probably
okay.
had, I don't know, 500 to 700 attendees. Probably closer to 5. Most of the businesses, we had probably I think 34 vendors set up. So not everything about the event was, a lot of the vendors that were there told me they did really well. A couple of them told me they didn't do as well. But a lot of them told me they did well. I guess because the people who did attend were serious, buyers, I guess, for maybe stores or distributors or whatever. And the public that I talked to, most of the public that I talked to, did enjoy themselves and have a good time and got some great deals. However, there were some comments online that I saw, of course, after day one. There were a couple people that tried to get in a few times and were just really put off with the $15 sampling fee that we charged at the door. And then they came back again on Sunday and tried to get in again with 2 or 3 hours left. And they were like, come on, but there's only 2 or 3 hours left. Anyway, yeah, we charged a sampling fee for a reason. It wasn't because we wanted to. VCC has never been about making money off of the door. One time, the very first event, we tried it, but again, it was for a different philosophy of trying to get people to come to the event and be committed to coming to the event by putting in a little bit of money. I think it was $5 or $10 at the time, but we haven't charged since then because I wanted to encourage smokers to come to the event and not have a door fee put them off. However, FDA deeming regulations came out. Sampling fees are a thing now, and they're going to be probably forever. There are no free samples. Even though it's into an event where only people over the age of 18 can get into, I know, I mean, some people were saying, oh, we're just going to come in and look around. We're not going to sample anything. Unfortunately for us as event organizers, we can't follow everyone around and make sure that they don't sample, and we have no idea if the FDA has representatives there from health departments and stuff. So that's just the way that we took the approach for the event. And people were bitching and complaining online about the $15. $15 is too much. I got this mod at the event because I burnt my coil and no one had aero tank coils. Big shocker. But I got this for $5, y'all. 5. Mountain Oak Vapors was clearing them out. Is it earth shattering? No, but it's a great little mouth and lung device. It's a eGrip 2.
Yeah.
People were selling 120 mils of juice at convention prices for $20. I saw tons of $5 and $10 30 mils. I mean, if you didn't see the value in coming in the door for the $15 sampling fee that we had to charge, then I don't know, man.
When did $15 become like a make or break situation?
I don't know. And
it's
one of the things,
$15.
Some of the comments I heard from people, even the people that did, I was reading some, I like to read and see what people are saying, because you can ask people to their face and they're like, oh yeah, great event. They're really going to be honest and brutal behind a keyboard and behind the protection of a screen where no one can see who they are. But so I saw some comments about, yeah, it wasn't worth the $15. I didn't walk out with a bag of liquid like I did 2 years ago and stuff like that. And I'm like, at that moment, I deflated. Like my confidence in a lot of things deflated. And that's why we have our quote, this week is, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever. And what I mean by we created a monster is, I think the industry itself as a whole, and maybe not everybody participated in this, I'm sure they didn't, but certainly VCC events for the first year or so, we were doing free giveaways from the stage. We were doing, we created an expectation, and companies were there by the droves. Companies all over the country used to just give out tons and tons of product. And I think we created this expectation of handouts in this industry and free stuff. And, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So what do you guys think?
Have I not been saying this for 5 years? Yeah, I mean, team free shit exists for a reason, There's a huge subsection of our community that lives and dies by free shit. That's how hand checks are done. That's how shout outs are done. It's all a free shit market. How a lot of these businesses actually end up making money is kind of beyond me. It's got to be based on pure volume, but this is the reality, and that's the section of the market that I've always steered clear from. But it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. I mean, that's it. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah. I mean, like Kevin said, we did it to ourselves. We created the expectation of free stuff. In 2015, every event I went to was team free shit. I mean, vendors throwing shit and the stage throwing shit, and everybody's cleaning up and making out like bandits because of all this free stuff. And that went on for years. That was in 2014 this was going on. So it went on for years and years. So yeah, we created this expectation. And the thing that boggles my mind the most is the $15 sampling fee. That makes no sense to me. It's $15. I paid more than that to see Avengers Age of Ultron, which was terrible, and it cost me more than $15. So spending $15 to go to 2 days of a vape event, I don't know. I can't imagine why $15 was like this make or break situation where people are, unless you have $14 in your bank account, then sure, maybe don't spend your last money on the VCC event. But it's $15. You spend more than that at McDonald's.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's not just a VCC. We did see a reduced turnout than what we're used to in Pittsburgh as well. I think we were at a couple thousand people for that event, but this is certainly taking the wind out of my sails, probably to do any more VCC events, especially of this nature. So, we're moving on to other things. I've spent this whole week working on plans in progress, and getting involved in doing some other types of conventions, and maybe doing some other types of organization of other things, which I'm not going to mention right now because they're still in the very early phases. But it's certainly this type of event for, I think, VCC, at least for now, is VCCTN was probably it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge bummer. Huge bummer.
And I think that we're going to see this as a trend. I mean, I haven't been to any other events this year, but I've heard and vendors tell me that they went to other events and that attendance has been really, really down. And companies just aren't going to spend the money that it costs. You know, companies who come and exhibitors, and I say this at every event, thank you to all the exhibitors who come. We appreciate it. Without you, the event doesn't happen. And that's true. And vendors spend way more than just what it costs for a booth or a sponsorship to come to an event. They spend all the money it takes to get their employees there. They make extra product, shipping the product there, shipping the booth there, buying a booth, which is not cheap. I mean, the whole event costs them a lot more money, and they're looking for a draw. They need people to get there so that they can, you know, hopefully recoup some of their expenses, and that's what business is about. And if these events keep having small turnouts, then and it goes back to, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I'll get it out there and let you guys discuss some of it as well. But it goes back to what I've been saying for the past like 6 months, which I completely just lost my train of thought. I think it was something to the effect of we need to not quit. I mean, it's just so disheartening to me that the FDA deeming regulations came out and people just quit.
Yeah.
I mean, we quit. What the fuck, man? Just by releasing the regulations, publishing them in the Federal Register on May 10th, the FDA has 80% of their goal achieved. I can't wrap my mind around it. How people in an industry, both industry and consumers, can just say, oh, these regulations are here, we're done. There's no fight.
Yeah, I mean,
spit it out, Jay. What you got?
Looks like Jay has something he wants to say.
Well, I hate to even bring this up, but I've been saying it for years. At the point where vaping became cool, it became a trend. And the thing about trends is once they come up against an ounce of resistance, the trend moves on. People start looking at different things. So yes, you know, vapors have grown by leaps and bounds, especially over the last 2 or 3 years. But the community that has grown out of that is very specific. You know, it's a very specific demographic, and it's a demographic that is tied to market. Period. Doesn't matter what the product is. If the marketing's right, they're on it. So again, as soon as they come up against an ounce of resistance, they're going to move on. They're going to start doing tricks with something else. You know, it's no longer vape tricks. Now they're going to be doing skateboarding tricks or you know, whatever. And then they'll all grow up and move out of their parents' basements and get married.
What about though the consumers though? The consumers, it seems to me. I mean, I don't understand.
But that's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the consumers as well as a lot of, especially the e-liquid.
Yeah, but a lot of
the hype
a lot of industry too. I mean, we had no trouble filling up a convention hall 6 months ago before the regulations came out. We had no trouble. None. And
right, like I said, but then they came up against an ounce of resistance. So now they're moving.
What do you think?
People are looking at
Nick, you've been to a lot more events than I have, that's for sure. What do you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with Jay. I think the trend thing. I mean, that was going to happen anyway. I mean, I don't think we can fault an industry for becoming a trend. Like that was. That was going to happen anyway. Yeah, literally every event this year since May 5th has been sad. It's just been sad. Less vendors, less people. Don't get me wrong. I've had a great time at these events, and I've met great people, and I've made good connections and talked to great vendors. But the overall turnout, the overall vibe of it is very defeated.
Right.
You know, and it sucks. It really sucks. And Jay's right. There's a lot of people in vaping, consumers and vendors alike, that were never in it for the long haul. It was never the long game to them. It was a temporary thing. And so when you weed these people out, you get people, I mean, everybody, fighting for the vaping rights is all old school guys. Greg Conley, old school guy. Dimitri, old school guy. Like, all the old school guys are the ones who are defending it. I mean, that's painting with a pretty broad brush.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people within the last 2 years that give a shit and want to stand up for our vaping rights.
Yeah, but they're the exception. Whereas
But they're the exception.
Back in the day, it was the rule. Like, if you were vaping in 2012,
Yeah.
you were advocating.
Yeah.
That was the rule as opposed to the exception. Now it's the exception.
Yeah. And back then, I mean, it's been an uphill battle. I've said this before on other shows. It's been an uphill battle since the very beginning. I started vaping in 2009, and in 2010, I uploaded my first advocacy video about helping to stop the vape ban in California, which then Governor Schwarzenegger at the time vetoed it. It's always been an uphill battle. It's never been smooth sailing for the vape industry. So
Yeah.
it's always been an uphill
I think
battle.
what's sad, at least from the VCC perspective anyway, I don't know, again, what other events are doing. I think there are some other good events out there. I know that Vaping in the Sun, which was, the main the main fundraiser for the Vape Event project, is probably not going to happen this year because they have, like, I think I read a post from Will the other day. They had 0 committed vendors and exhibitors, and you just can't do these events. It's just not possible. And plus, the multitude of events that happened within the last 18 months is just staggering. The amount of people who said, I think I can do an event. Let's put one on. So every weekend there were 3 or 4 events. And I think in addition to the regulations coming out, people, vendors and consumers are evented out. I mean, I think that's, just like the e-liquid market, and I know it didn't grow at this. I mean, probably if you did a percentage, breakdown of it, it may be about the same as the e-liquid market. But the convention market went from 3 or 4 events per year to 3 or 4 events per weekend because everyone.
Yeah, no, I think there's an absolute direct correlation there because most of the money that goes, most of the money spent in e-liquid, and again, we're generalizing, but you kind of have to. This is a talk show. Most of the money that goes into e-liquid is in marketing at this point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So it goes hand in hand that these conventions grow and shrink, by the e-liquid market.
Right. And what I was saying about why from the BCC perspective, why that's a sad thing is we started out with the intention to get smokers in the door, also offer vapors some new products and new e-liquids to try and stuff to keep them interested in vaping, to keep them from going back to combustible tobacco, but to get smokers in the door, to introduce them to our community and to these products. And when you get to a point, but at the same time too, it's a business, and you can't run a business if you don't have customers or enough customers or people to continue doing it. So I'm not saying VCC we're definitely not going away, but for right now we're taking a break, and we'll see what happens next year. First and foremost, Cole Bishop, and I'm remiss for not bringing this up sooner than 18 minutes into the show, but if you don't know what Cole Bishop is, we've had episodes on it in the past, so scroll back through our log and check it out. If Cole Bishop doesn't pass and get included into the omnibus package that's going before Congress for funding and the president stuff in December, I think it's December 9th or early December, we're screwed. I mean, the predicate date, it's the only viable option right now to get the predicate date changed, and if we can't do that, we have 18 months as an industry as it is. So there again, I mean, I think there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, and companies are really reluctant to commit to spending funds on marketing for events and conventions and stuff when they don't even know if they're going to be around past 18 months. So there's just so much at play right now. And Nick, I completely agree with you 100%. Vaping, ever since it hit the scene in the United States, it's always been an uphill battle. It's never even been a plateau or a downhill coast. It's always been uphill. And it seems like every day that passes, it gets even harder and harder for us to keep this technology around that will save 1 billion lives in the next 100 years if governments will just give it the chance and stop fucking regulating it and getting involved, taking away our rights.
You said fuck.
What?
Yeah.
You said fuck.
Yeah, I did. I'm pissed, dude. It pisses me off.
I know.
We're trying to do a good thing to change, a good thing to change for the positive, public health and humanity, and we get fucked at every angle, every turn, dude. It's so disheartening.
Not in a good way.
No, I'm in over the barrel without lube fucked.
Wow. Kevin's fired up, obviously, and I absolutely agree with you. Even when I see sin taxes happening all over the United States, sin taxes for vaping, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that alone is ridiculous.
The whole purpose sin taxes were initiated was to dissuade people from doing a behavior that the government thought was bad for public health. Not one fucking thing says that these are bad for public health. In fact, there are clear evidence that it's a positive thing for public health, and governments want to sin tax it. And I know it all goes back to the money argument, but fuck you, any government who wants to tax this product as a sin tax. Go and look at your constituents who are smoking and wish them a happy rest of their life because you're contributing to their death.
Yeah, absolutely. And California's trying to pass a higher sin tax, and we have like the second or third lowest smoking rate in the country as a state. And we want to sin tax it more?
Right.
Even though we're already the third lowest? That boggles my mind.
How much of a strain does smoking put on the California's budget when it comes to paying for people's medical care costs later in life after they've been smoking for decades?
Yeah,
Billions,
absolutely.
trillions, I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Kevin's making us all angry.
We should be angry, guys. We're the, like the analogy Jay brought up several shows ago. We're the frog in a pot of water that's slowly reaching boil, and we're just sitting there taking it like everything's cool, and it's not fucking cool.
Fucking A.
Yeah, it's not fucking cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the update on VCTN. I really do appreciate every vendor and sponsor that came out for it. Again, some of them told me it was, and it boggled my mind, I mean, how this was possible. But there were some serious people there who were buying and distributors and stuff, and most of the vendors I talked to told me they did really well. But we can't keep doing events with 30 vendors. It costs a lot of money to put these events on, and it takes a lot of time, honestly. And it's just, I'm not sure we can financially, no, I'm positive we can't financially continue to do that. And it really, really sucks. So, yeah. That being said, Nick, you have a couple of events that you're going to soon.
Yeah.
Tell us about those.
I'm going to VaporCon East in Richmond, Virginia, which we were talking about before the show, is a very old school event. It's maybe 20 vendors. It's in a small room. It's always packed. It's an event that people go to just to hang out. It's like a very large vape meet. Like back in the day, we would have vape meets, and there were no vendors. It was just vapors just hanging out. Like that's what a vape meet was. And so this is very much a glorified vape meet. You can go and meet people, hang out with your friends. There will be vendors there, and it's a really fun, small event. The event after that is the one I'm most curious about. I'm going to this event in Arizona, Vapor Dynasty Expo. I went last year, and it wasn't great. It wasn't a really great event. It was kind of a dumb event. I'm going this year really just to hang out with Dwayne and Kent because they're going, and I haven't seen Dwayne or Kent in a while, and I'm like, I want to go hang out with my friends. And so I was talking to the Rising from the Ashes podcast guys, and they're in Arizona, so they're going to go to the event as well. And evidently the hall that they're having it in is in an incredibly bad part of town, like bars on the windows at the McDonald's. and the event hall is in a strip mall. So that's interesting. So I'm really interested to see how this event goes. Evidently, it was the only venue in the greater Phoenix area that would have a vape event, and it's in a really bad part of town, and it's in a strip mall. So those are all two very interesting things. I'm really interested to see this event.
You should augment your vlog camera with a body cam.
Yeah, with a body cam.
Maybe a sidearm.
Yeah, and a sidearm.
So it's going to be interesting. Vapor Dynasty Expo is a fairly new-ish event. They started in 2014. Pardon me. They started in 2014, I believe, which 2014 seems like that was the year that the market got really saturated with vape events. Like that's when it started happening constantly, like, 2 or 3 a month. Vapor Dynasty Expo was one of them, and they're doing it for the 3rd year, and I'm really interested to go. I mean, I'm really excited to hang out with my friends, but I'm really fascinated by this event. I really am interested to see how it goes, what their attendance is like, what their vendor list is like, how big or small or sad it is.
And there's another event later this year that's been, I guess, the penultimate big event. I'm not
right.
saying anything other than it's the biggest event volume wise, which
right.
is ECC, and they're having it outdoors this time in California.
Yes.
So I'm curious to see how that goes as well. I'm sure they'll do well with sales just because it's a big event. But I'm with everything that's happening in California over the last 12 months, I'm just curious how that's going to work out. Are you planning on attending that, Nick?
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on attending that. It would be dumb not to. It's like a 2.5 hour drive from me. So I love to go to ECC. This year, compared to years past, ECC is very much scaled down. It's a scaled down, concentrated version of the event. Right. Last year, it was in 4 different halls, and each hall was sponsored by a different vendor, and each hall had like 100 or more vendors packed into it. So it was an unbelievably huge event, obnoxiously huge event.
I'm curious to see what they do this year. I don't know. I won't be attending, but if maybe you can give us a report after.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, I'll be there shooting video. It's outdoors. It's at the Santa Ana Infield, which is an event field. That's what they use this field for, is for events. And I've seen, the layout of the map, because we were thinking about getting a booth there, but ultimately decided against it.
Well, if you're doing these,
like the layout,
yeah,
and there's a stage and big tented booths and non-tented outdoor booths, and they have a lot of space for a lot of vendors, but this is the first time in ECC it's all in one area. Even the first ECC I went to in 2014, there was 2 separate halls, and it grew from there, and now it's back to like one big area.
It sounds like a flea market.
I have a feeling it's going to be a little craft fair-ish.
Yeah.
So just because it's outside with tents and stuff like that.
I've always had a philosophy and a policy with VCC that we're not going to go to, not states necessarily, but because within states you have cities that have their own policies. So if a state is not necessarily against vaping, but a city is, and we would call in, we would check and see if they had any venues that would allow vaping or if they supported vaping. If they said no, we didn't even, there was not trying to convince them, nothing. We just gave up on it because we're not going to support, in the past we didn't support local governments who didn't support vapors' rights. And the reason why is when these events were bigger for VCC, we were bringing in thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of dollars to the local economy. And in California, over the last couple of years, you guys have been hit really hard, brutally hard with regulations and stuff on vaping. And I just don't think I would do an event in a state and bring money to a state. Fuck them. Fuck California, dude. I wouldn't bring them a nickel.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the organizers are based out of California. They do the ECC shows and they do the VPX shows.
Right.
I thought for sure, 100% hands down, I thought, ECC is going to be in Vegas this year. that's a no-brainer. I figured it's right next to California. ECC is going to be in Vegas, but they wanted to keep ECC in California because it's a California event, and the majority of attendees are California residents.
Yeah, but California's going to make a shit ton of money off that event happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Take it up with CJ, but I know they wanted to keep ECC in California.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, that's why we've done Tampa the last 4 years. I live here and it's my home, but we've been able to keep regulations in Florida kind of at bay over the last few years. Knock on wood. Hopefully, it continues to go that way. But I hope they have a great event. I mean, definitely by having an ECC event, more people hear about vaping, which is a great thing, and maybe more smokers will say, "Hey, what is this vaping thing?" People are going, if that many people are attending. It's just my own personal philosophy against bringing money to a government who's using that same money to fuck you over.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the mentality that a lot of California vape companies are using. I mean, that's why Local Vape moved their entire operation, everything, distribution, warehouse, liquid labs, all their offices to Vegas, because they didn't want the tax dollars that they're giving to the state being used against them.
Right.
And that's exactly why they left.
It makes sense to me anyway. We had a comment earlier in chat, and I wanted to just read this real quick from Kevin Hannafin. If the industry doesn't work to change public perception in a big way, it will continue to decline. Absolutely true. I think one of our biggest failings that we've had, if I could say anything or point to any one thing, is public relations. We're getting beat up at every angle.
But unfortunately, that's gonna probably work itself out. Like I said earlier, as the demographic that is now facing some hurdles weeds itself out, we're going to once again become more concentrated of a community that's more focused on advocacy, and that's just part of it. The problem that we're going to have is that going to happen too late?
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think public perception. Rick, yes, of course we have to change public perception, but I don't think the negative public perception is our fault. I mean, sure, some of it is, but I think the majority of it is
it's media.
The antis. It's the media. It's the anti-vaping. It's like tobacco-free kids and all these other organizations that have access to public mainstream news media.
I agree, but I don't think. What I'm saying is, I don't think we've done a good enough job rebutting it and putting out our own positive information.
Right.
We preach to the choir all the time, and vapors who are vaping, especially those that are involved in advocacy efforts, already know all the same things that we're trying to. We need to be telling people who are not vaping. We need to be telling smokers and politicians, and that's why I constantly say education is key.
And another thing that hurts us is that so many of us, especially in the advocacy wing of the community, kind of refuse to use rhetoric, whereas the other side does. They use rhetoric and in some instances blatant lies to attack us, and we refuse to do that. We try to use honesty and kindness and altruism to fight their nastiness. Right. And just like we see in the presidential election, it's negative ads that sell votes, and it's the same thing with any special interest fight. We have been unwilling to get nasty, and if we're going to win this fight, ultimately, I think we are going to have to get a little bit nasty.
I think we're going to have to get a lot nasty.
Who do we get nasty with? I mean, but I mean, there's no, when you see a campaign ad, of this politician versus this politician, they're just slandering, not slandering, but slandering each other.
Right.
We have the anti-vapors against us, and then it's anti-vapors against us, and then it's us against the public.
Right.
We have no one to get dirty with. We can't.
Yeah, and I haven't seen a billion lives yet, but it's my understanding that Aaron, goes a long way into exposing, all the anti-vaping special interest groups. So maybe that will help kind of, provide a catalyst for us to really go after these guys hard.
That's a good segue for us, because then the next thing that we had to talk about was the A Billion Lives map. And I just saw this today, and we can kind of discuss it a little bit. I'm going to a premiere in Oldsmar, which is by Tampa, Florida, November 10th. I believe it'll be my first time seeing A Billion Lives, and I'm really excited. It's been hyped up so much, and I've been hearing about it for so long that I think maybe my expectations might be a little too high. I don't think it's the be-all and end-all savior of the industry, but I do think that it will probably raise, that public perception, and at least create some urgency to question why what is happening is happening. So let's flip over to the right monitor real quick, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is a map that I saw on the A Billion Lives Facebook page, and I guess it says the revolution has truly begun, and you can see different spots here where I guess they have premieres, and I'm assuming the full green ones are sold out. But if you look at the ones that are not, see these, they still have tickets available. Why? Again, it's like 12 or 15 bucks to see it. Is that like some sort of overcoming thing? These should have been sold out the minute they hit, in my opinion.
Yeah. Especially with how many people were screaming, why isn't this released in the U.S. yet? And here in Boston, or here in Mass, it's funny, I'm not even aware that the showing that was originally supposed to be on the 1st of November, I'm not even aware that that's actually happening. So I'm going to end up driving down to Providence.
Well, there's a couple in Florida. I'm not sure if the one I'm going to is sold out yet, but if you guys are anywhere within an hour or two of these premieres that I just showed you on the map, you can rewind on the replay, or just go to the A Billion Lives Facebook page, and they have a little link there. It says "Help us fill the map," and then you can click that, organize a screening. We definitely need to get these sold out quickly, and in more locations as well. That looks like a lot, but I mean, it could definitely be a lot more. I don't see any in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Kansas, Nebraska. I mean, there's nothing at all. So yeah, there's definitely more that can be done to get this movie's message out to the general
right.
public.
And granted, this at this stretch, it's preaching to the choir, but they're still selling tickets. If we can fill these theaters, then other distributors may be willing to look at the film. Netflix, everybody's screaming Netflix. Netflix might be looking, at pulling the film in. There's a whole bunch of venues that will open up if we have a strong showing at this stage.
So Nick Orlando, who's I think organizing this, so the one in Oldsmar is an FSFA sponsored screening. He says they just opened up another 88 tickets in Oldsmar. It did sell out once, and then they added us to a larger theater. So that's really good. I mean, if that type of stuff is happening, that's great. That's what we need to see. But we need to sell those 88 tickets. So if you're in the Tampa Bay area, go give Nick a hug at the Vapors Depot. Try some VCC liquids. That's right, I said it. And find out how you can get your tickets to this premiere. It's on November 10th. You got plenty of time. It's like $15. It's not that, again, I don't think it's that prohibitive, but if you're in a venue or in an area that's close to a venue that you can go check it out, let's sell these out. And if there's not one in or around your area, check out A Billion Lives on Facebook and see how you can make that happen. Nick says it's a great film. Again, I haven't seen it yet. I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't really been paying close attention to the Jay, you can't really look at the comments, can you, on your phone?
No, I can't see the comments on my phone.
I'll scroll back to it and see if there's anything I'm missing.
I can see
someone
of the
mentioned
comments.
Cali Prop 57. It's California Proposition 56. Again, if you didn't check out the episode where we discussed it in detail, vote no if you're in California on Proposition 56.
Yes.
It's a huge blow to the vaping community yet again in California.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's a horrible piece of legislation anyway. It's just really very bad. Funding insurance companies and special interest groups through taxing vaping and cigarettes
and claiming that they're going to help education.
Yeah, it's not. It's not going to education. It's not going to fix the roads. It's not going to anything except for insurance companies. And that's horrible. That's just horrible.
So I scrolled back up and I saw when we were talking about, I guess, the mentality of the industry and what's been going on since the regulations dropped. Nutter Joshua 68 says, "We've been dealing with the same issue in our shop. Before the regs, our shop was full every day. After the regs, it has dwindled down to hardly anyone."
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me to a question in my mind. Where are these people going if they're not going to their local shop? What are they doing? Did they stop vaping? Are they buying stuff online? Did they go back to smoking? I mean, what?
Little from column A, little from column B.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they're just, they stop being part of the community altogether. Maybe they're doing DIY.
Yeah, vaping is I've seen this trend constantly. I mean, throughout the last 8 years of vaping, but people get into vaping and it's like the most exciting thing ever. And then they're going full speed up and up and up and up. And then they get to this like plateau area where it's like, maybe I have a pretty good setup. I don't really need another atomizer. Your interest goes down a little bit. You're like, I've got a pretty good mod. I don't really need a new mod. Your interest goes down a little bit. You're like, I found my all-day vape. I really like these couple flavors, and your interest goes down a little bit. And you're like, I'm not really interested in tricking or cloud blowing, and then your interest goes down a little bit. And so
I really need to be paying $22
Right.
for a bottle of juice every other day.
Yeah, do I need to be blowing through this much juice? I'm not really interested in coil building. I can wrap coils and your interest goes down a little bit. So people peak really fast in vaping because it's easy to, and then they drop off even faster because people lose interest constantly. And I notice it on my YouTube where there's a guy who just discovers my videos and he's commenting, and then over time his comments just get less and less, and then he's just gone. Like he just disappears. Like people lose interest or they find their sweet spot and don't feel the need to like be part of the community or get on social media and be stoked about coil builds and new RDAs and new juice lines, and the interest fades really quickly. I think once you get content and satisfied, your interest will drop down greatly.
So how does it translate though to vape shops? I mean, people, if they were full before the regulations dropped and they're not full now or barely have anyone coming through the doors now, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, you can't dwindle to the point of
No,
not
their
using
job
anymore.
simply becomes more difficult. I mean, it was like shooting fish in a barrel there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So now they're actually going to have to work for a living.
Yeah.
Just like most juice makers that are gonna weather this storm. We're actually going to have to work for a living.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the cash cow that it's been. It's going to be 60, 80-hour weeks and
Yeah.
Hitting the ground running and just keeping your nose to the grindstone. Like it's going to be like any other industry, any other job. It's going to be a lot harder. And God willing, the barriers to entry to this industry will not, completely prevent competition, and it won't result in complete, consolidation of the industry. And we'll still have, consumer choice in those kind of things. But it's just going to become a much harder job once the trend has completely waned.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. It was shooting fish in a barrel. There was a time when you could just release a new juice. Didn't matter what it was, but as long as it was new, it would sell like crazy. Everybody was buying it. And now that's not the case. I mean,
Right.
Namber Juice is doing very solid, but overall our numbers are down. So
That really sucks though, you know what, guys?
you know,
It sucks because that means less people are going to come into these vape shops, less smokers who are the real target audience.
It might mean that more smokers come in.
Not if they're telling me that they were full and now they're not. That means less
No,
and
but
less people are coming
a lot
through the doors.
a lot of what turned away 30-plus-year-old smokers was the trend factor that we've been looking at the last couple of years. I think the exact opposite could happen over the next couple of years if everything goes in our favor. I think that the downtick in the trendiness and the cool factor in the vaping industry could actually end up helping us to convert more smokers ultimately.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can see that.
I that's honestly how I feel. As long, you know, obviously I'm not taking into account the potential regulations that are coming. That's a completely different scenario. But I don't think that you can point to the downturn in the trend factor in vaping as something that will lessen smoker conversion.
I think if the
Right.
government would have left us the fuck alone and let us continue to grow, we would have eventually
Ab-
corrected, and capitalism rules would have
absolutely,
applied, and we would have corrected, and we would have gotten
that trend-
even more of that 40 million who are left smoking right now.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But they're two different. Those are two different parameters that you're looking at. Absolutely right. If we were left alone, the trend factor would have fallen off eventually anyway, and we would have been in even better shape. Absolutely.
And we would have even better products, and we would have even better liquid, and we would have even better shops, and we would have converted the 40 million smokers who are going to, at this point, if we don't save the industry in the next 6 weeks and get the predicate date changed, or if nothing changes over the next 18 months, they're going to continue smoking and die.
I absolutely agree. I don't think we're arguing here.
No, we're not. No, I think that, no, I'm not. I'm just augmenting your point that,
Okay.
I don't know. It's just crazy,
Shut up.
man. I can't. It's crazy. We're trying to do something good for humanity, and I know a lot of people just got in this industry to get rich, but whatever. It's capitalism. That's the way it works. If their products are getting smokers off of combustible tobacco, who cares? I guess the government cares.
The government cares because we're a disruptive industry.
We're disruptive to their cash flow.
We're hurting a lot of heavy hitters that have their hands in a lot of pockets.
Yeah.
So, this is the fight that we're facing. It's not a moral fight we're facing. It's a political fight. It's a financial fight. It has nothing to do with morality because we win that argument hands down.
Yeah. We're a very disruptive industry. And, and the same thing happened when Uber came out and all the taxi companies were up in arms about Uber and they banned Uber in a lot of cities. And it wasn't even until 2016 that Uber was allowed in Las Vegas. Like they had a ban on ride shares in Las Vegas. Same thing with, like Airbnb, where you can rent out your house to. The city of Anaheim right now just instituted a ban on Airbnbs because it was affecting all the hotel businesses. They just banned Airbnbs. That's ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous.
And so those are disruptive industries. We're an even more disruptive industry than that because we are cutting into tobacco tax.
The main difference is in those industries and the examples you brought up, and they're disruptive industries, but no one's going to die from a taxi or Uber ride, and no one's going to die from an Airbnb or hotel stay.
Well, but that's the argument that the anti-Uber and anti-Airbnb people make is that, look, people are dying. These people are not vetted. There's serial killers that can rent out their apartment. They make these ludicrous arguments.
Well, when you get up to 400,000 plus deaths a year in the United States, then I think you might have something to base your argument on.
I understand, but it's a difference, as Russ often likes to say, it's a difference in degree, not in kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true. Very true. Well,
anyway, we've all had pretty good rants. Next week, program notes, just while I'm thinking about it. Next week, both Nick and I will be gone. Oh, Matt's not here today, in case you didn't notice. He is sick. So, anyway, hope you feel better, Matt. And it won't be next week, but it'll probably be 2 weeks before we do another VCCLive. We might need to change the name of the show. Just call it Live or something. I'm just kidding.
Call it because VC. Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah.
I'm not saying again. VCC is just going to take a break. I did say at one point, VCC, if we had to scale down our events, we would scale down our events, and maybe that's something that we do. Maybe we take on a format where we're just doing big vape meets and not doing conventions because they're extremely expensive to put on and take a lot of time. But maybe we can do some smaller VCC like regional or citywide events where we do big vape meets and still can get the message out.
I mean, VaporCon's leaving a pretty good hole in that month.
It is.
So you said this is the last VaporCon, correct, Nick and Jay? The last.
According to Lou.
According to Lou. So me and Lou and the guys from was once Vaporcast, and then they became Nickwood, and then they became something else, I think. Jack, Scott, and Adam. Back in 2011, we started this VaporCon in Richmond, and then I started doing VaporCon West in Reno. We didn't have a VaporCon West this year, and this is going to be the last VaporCon East event. I'm not sure if we're going to do another VaporCon West event in Nevada again. I don't know. I'm not sure. So it's definitely the last VaporCon East, but it might not be the last VaporCon event ever. And even VaporCon West was the same. I mean, we stole the playbook from VaporCon East. It was a really small event. We had something like 24 vendors there, and it was all in one room, and we all stayed at the same hotel and casino, and it was a glorified vape meet. And I really like that formula. I think it works really well. It gives you a chance to, you know, not to use a weird term, but it gives you a chance to like fellowship with other vapors and talk and, you know, have that sense of community rather than obscenely loud music and getting hit with juice bottles and not wanting to be there at all.
Yeah, and there are more communal tables at the events than there are vendor tables.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There's a lot of big round tables where you just sit around. It's great. It's such a great thing, man. You just hang out and it's fun.
Harvey Nicholson says, I second that motion, regional VCC. I don't know. You guys share the video, put some comments if you think we can, you know, get at least 800 to 1,000 people to a smaller event. By all means,
I really like this idea. I think we should make it happen. I think the three of us could make it happen. Just the three of us.
Just the three of us?
Just the three of us.
The three of us.
We can make it if we try. Yeah, maybe Nick Orlando says he has an idea for next year. Okay, Nick, lay it on me, brother. What you got?
Let's go.
Or you can just message me if you want. So yeah, remember, if you haven't hit that like button, make sure you smash that like button and post your comments over once the replay is up.
Yeah.
It really helps us in the search results on YouTube, and don't forget to share the video. We'll post a link in the VCCLive Facebook group, and also Jay will at some point in the next couple of weeks get the audio version over to Dimitri.
I'm working on a new system over here for the
in case you're wondering, you know, you don't see Jay's normal camera setup and mic setup. If you didn't watch the beginning of the episode, his computer died, so right now he's on a cell phone. So not too bad for a cell phone, I think.
Yeah, that's good.
The cell phone's better than my backup laptop by far.
Jason Hunt says, I wish we could do something in mass, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know what? If I get funding from Kevin, then
you're a funny guy.
Or if he at least comes up here and spends a week, so that we can like scout locations, and you know, he can take me through the ins and outs of planning a convention.
I've seen so much complacency with exhibitors. I'm just, I don't know. I don't even know if a regional event's going to be possible. People are really disenfranchised right now.
Yeah, we haven't had a New England Vapors event, and those were very small scale and easy to organize. We haven't had one of those in probably a year, just because the community gets so divided, and you know, everybody's banging heads, and it just gets gross after a while.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're a few minutes early, but I guess we're going to end it there for this time. We'll see you guys in a few weeks. Don't forget again to check out the replay when we get it posted up, and if you want to, you know, share the Smoke-Free Radio version, it's on smokefreeradio.com within a few days, hopefully. And yeah, that's it. Any closing thoughts there, Jay?
Yeah, a few days.
What?
That replay.
Grab him by the what?
Yeah.
Grab him by the what?
I want to make a t-shirt. Don't anyone steal that. You heard it right here first. I'm going to make a t-shirt.
Grab it by the what?
With a confused old lady face. Nick, any closing thoughts?
No, I got nothing. Vote no on Prop 56. Vote on November 8th.
Contact
Ooh,
your
we're not going to have a show
representatives.
before
Do whatever
November
you
8th,
can.
are we?
No, I don't think so.
Contact your representatives and make sure that they're supporting HR 205. I mean, excuse me, HR. Holy shit, Cole Bishop Amendment being
Yeah.
included into the spending package. We will
Amy's
not have a
turning
show
over
before
in-
November 8th. We'll have next one will be November 11th.
Amy's turning over in his rice pilaf right now.
Well, everyone makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Shit happens. All right, guys. We'll see you in a few weeks. Remember, you don't have to do everything. You do have to do something. Get involved.